afternoon and welcome to the panel discussion. And I welcome all the panelists as well as audience to be part of this discussion. The topic for the today panel discussion is building tech for the future. We have a representation from bank, insurance, mutual fund, then from India Post also, and OEMs like HP and Airtel, as well as we have a representation from Aadhaar, which is a government-enabled platform, Mr. Sumnesh. So we'll start our discussion. Before starting a discussion, I will just set the context. Like we know that how the banking is evolving. Okay, so there are emerging set of technologies which we all are accepting to honor for a different layer of banking operations, including product innovation, customer experience, employee experience, automations, and how we consume the technology. Now, for this, my first question will be that how technology is helping us to become a future-ready organization. So we'll start our discussion from Priya ma'am. So Priya ma'am, over to you now.
Thank you, E.T., first and foremost, and fabulous panel. Great conversation. What can be a better backdrop than today, post-COVID, and India growing, as a strong economy. At that backdrop, all of us, as different sectors. I personally represent health insurance, sector. Been working for the last 26 years in the same sector without having any boredom because there's so much of buzz. Post-COVID, the sector has seen huge amount of, progress. At the backdrop of, G20, the country is really growing strong on the digital mission. Lot of innovation and, focus on healthcare infrastructure being built. Further, huge amount of progress made on the products that are being created in the insurance segment. Now, we were to talk about, future-ready, insurance segment. During COVID, insurance is not a commodity. It is a, promise. If at all something happens to the near and dear one or the person who is buying insurance, we promise to be there. We promise to really go through that journey and take away the pain and the suffering. Now, amidst all this, it's a business of humanity, humanism, and so much of values of care. Of course, technology plays a role because we are able to perform and deliver that promise on time, every time, backed by that technology. During COVID, overnight we were told that we have to shut shops, we have to operate from home. People were very concerned, is my insurance going to cover COVID claims? Am I going to be covered? How is it going to work? At that point, we really couldn't take a call of caring for our employees and their safety and getting them back home indoors so that they are safe. We had to also care for our millions of consumers, and that's where technology came to our rescue. Overnight, less than 24 hours, ourselves, ManipalCigna, and the entire healthcare and health insurance industry moved indoors at the back of a solid backbone of infrastructure in IT. We could handle our calls. We moved into IVRS based calls, reaching out to the consumers who were prone to catch COVID. It was not only about keeping the lights on and the business on. Healthcare was braving. They were right in the face of COVID, in the storm of COVID, so to say. So a future-ready organization really needs to focus on what products and solutions they are developing. In insurance, we are coming up, our comparison is no more about just slapping some benefits together. We are getting compared to Amazons of the world, the fintechs that are happening across the world, 15 minutes, 10 minutes, 2 minutes delivery nowadays. So all of that has to be kind of substantiated with a solid backbone of products. So we are innovating on the service delivery and the product infrastructure, creating sachet products and products which would appeal to the consumers. And of course, a scalable organization which takes it to the rural most part of the country, because India doesn't lie in the urban cities only. It's in the heart of the rural, locations. So scaling it back there and supported by the government's lot of initiatives on the Digital India front, whether it is Aadhaar, whether it is DigiLocker for that matter, and Ayushman Bharat. So all of that is getting us ready to be scalable and thereby take to the next phase of, evolution. So while all the other sectors are showing promising growth, healthcare and health insurance has been propelled at the back of COVID. and the infrastructure around digitization that the country is investing on. And hopefully, we should be able to make an impact. Thank you.
Thank you, Ajay. Hi, I'm CIO from CSP Bank. We are about a 102-year-old bank, and we call ourselves 100-year-old startup. And the reason is we are rebuilding the bank from scratch. So we asked ourselves that if we have got an opportunity to rebuild the bank, so what do we do? How do we do it? And then we just went back in history and saw that if you look at India, late 90s, some of us had pagers, yeah? But for how many months? Like I had pager for 7 months because we leapfrogged pagers in a Wi-Fi. Mainframes, the entire Western world has got so much of mainframe legacy. How much India has? Very limited. So because we are late entrant, we had the advantage that we can think it very differently. So we are reimagining the entire technology stack in such a way that we are truly a bank of future. So whatever backend we are putting, so we are thinking that why it should not be microservices based only. If we are putting lending systems, for example, so we are putting complete STP journey straight through processing. Our customers will be banking with us in due course of time, whether they bank with us on our website, on net banking, mobile banking, or the various other channels what we'll provide, the journey will be very seamless. In seconds, minutes, the loans will be dispersed in their accounts. So we had the advantage, and we are going to leverage that advantage to create the tech stack, which is going to create products, which one is going to create differentiation for ourselves as a bank in the industry. Two, our customers will see a very different bank because of the service stack what we are going to provide to them. So I think there is a technology available in the market, but depending on at what stage of the journey you are in the current state, you just have to choose and decide that how can you use that technology to your advantage. Thanks, Ajay.
Thank you, Vivek. So Sumnesh, I will request you to add that how banks or insurance company can leverage your platform to be a future ready. So because there are lots of innovation that is possible around this platform.
Yeah, so very good afternoon to everyone. See, has 2 points that I heard. One is the customer expectation. Maybe earlier, one is ready to wait for a month, then it reduced to week, then days, then hours, and then seconds. And now it's a click. So whatever we are going to innovate and provide the services across any platform, we are ready to serve the customer expectation that yes, at the click away, all the services should be available. So in the coming time and in the present time, the digital public goods infrastructure is a term that our country has coined across the world. And using this digital public good infrastructure, so first is the Aadhaar, the digital identity platform. So that has really pushed this financial inclusion in our country, and lots of thing that we are seeing in the last 7 or 8 years, it's the result of that digital identity platform. And because of the digital identity platform, many residents who are not having the access to the banking services, because brick and mortar branches were very less at that time, and still it is not, banks are not expanding the brick and mortar branch because we know it's a service sector. So this digital identity platform has reduced the cost of acquisition of the customer. Maybe all the my banking fraternity and other, basically the BFSI fraternity, will agree with me that because cost of acquisition is less and it's a convenience, right? So using this digital identity, they are able to tap the customer even in the remote hinterland. Of course, the connectivity should be there, so one can do the online authentication using the digital identity and provide the banking services. So first is we have opened under Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana around more than 46 crore bank accounts because it is required. Because without that, nothing is possible. So first is the financial inclusion in terms of the bank. Now the bank accounts are there. Now it's around 80 crore plus bank accounts in our country, unique bank accounts to unique residents. Then this, on top of that, the UPI is doing a wonder. More than 6 billion transactions in a month across the world. It's amazing. And everyone is just seeing India that how they have done it. And they want to emulate us in these technology, in the digital public good infrastructure. And now in the UPI, every small person, because now they have the bank account under Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana, and they are doing 5 rupee, 10 rupee, 20 rupees transaction using the QR code. And now this QR code, is everywhere you are finding, and all the transactions happening. But it's not only the convenience to the customer and the retailer or the shopkeeper. Another advantage is that, of course, the BFSI sector is leveraging the information-based lending. Maybe initially a vegetable hawker who's selling and maybe the earning is rupees 2,000 in the cash, but there is no data in our system, and no one is able to give the loan. Now this cash flow is there in the digital trail. One can see, yes, this particular person is having the capability to earn or generate so much of revenue. Now credit is given. So all these things are happening using the digital public infrastructure. And the India stack and using the API approach, many innovations are happening around it. Because now we have the credit bureau, we have even for the insurance, maybe the health ID, now you can link using the API, the ABA ID we are giving. DigiLocker, she has mentioned, again, it's a great potential. And digital identity, Aadhaar is there. So, and the UPI is there, and banking sector. So all, when we are connecting it, it's really we are leveraging and creating the innovation, new products. And there is no limit. So we have given, and now again the new term maybe everyone has heard, and it is already launched ONDC, the Open Network Digital Commerce. And that is really doing wonder. See, why only the proprietary sort of Uber, Amazon sort of thing, the government of India has come up with the digital public good infrastructure, so everyone can use this platform, right? UPI, why UPI success? Because there is no hidden cost. It's a government is subsidizing that. That's why the small ticket vendors are using this platform. So using this public good infrastructure, all the fraternity over here and from the BFSI sector, you can think and innovate new products. So with this, I will end, and maybe we'll further discuss as we go on.
Thank you, Sumnesh. In fact, you added that how country has opened more than 40 crores of account in last few years, as well as the information-based lending has been enabled. Now we can go to Easwaran also, because that is a classic example. This would be the classic example how the physical and digital coexist. In terms of that physical, that India Post has got the strongest network of physical branches in the remotest part of the country, as well as it has got a strong digital presence also. So we'll get his viewpoint that how both the things coexist and how they are able to make organization future ready.
Thank you so much. In fact, I like to take it a bit after Somesh has mentioned. In fact, when India Post Payments Bank, we started our journey 5 years back, we have actually tried to bring the digital first and the mobile only journey, and to build it into the journey along with one of the oldest and the most known institutions in the country, which is the India Post. India Post, as you all know, is an institution more than 150 years old institution, and bringing into a digital journey into this entire business was a big challenge. So we built the journey using them as a business correspondent. 150,000 GDS, as we call that, the Gramin Dak Sevak. Believe me, the post office which you and me see are the head post office and the sub post offices. You go to rural India, you go to Bharat, you go to the unbanked area, that's where you see the BO, what we call the branch offices, which is a one-man, single-person post office, which is manned by a Gramin Dak Sevak. So we have trained them, we have equipped them with the modern digital technology, given them handheld devices, which is nothing but a mobile phone, a smartphone, which all of us use. We call that as the micro ATM. And we have built the entire technology using the India stack, which rides on the Aadhaar platform and the NPCI products. So that's where we believe that Aadhaar has done great wonders. The bank has opened almost 6.3 crore of accounts, the savings accounts in our own bank using this Aadhaar stacks, completely paperless, eKYC based. And we do all kind of transactions which you can do in a normal universal bank, which is RTGS, NEFT, IMPS, fund transfers, bill payments. We have also integrated with G2C products, Jivan Praman. We also do the child enrollment of UIDAI, mobile number change and child enrollment. We also are into distribution of insurance products, all through the Dakias, through the handheld device, the mobile. So how we have done it? We have actually trained them. More than 1 crore of man-hours, training hours has gone into it to equip them. So it's first level of financial literacy to make the GDS into a banker, and the GDS is now further distributing it. Of course, it comes with its own challenges, because going into rural India, network connectivity continues to be a challenge, maintenance of the phones be a challenge, but we all overcome all those, and that's where we have been successful. Coming back to a future ready, all these are administered through our own mobile device management. So any new product comes, services come, we have an agile team, we build it, test it, and put it into our device, and it is distributed overnight through our own MDM to 150,000 devices and ready to serve the next day. So that's the kind of technology we have built in. Of course, comes with challenges, information security, risk, compliances, how we keep pace with all those and manage customer expectations continues to be a challenge as we go into the future. So that's where we are now working hard. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Easwaran. So you just briefed that how we are able to reach to the remotest part with the help of technology. So when we say that we have reached to the remotest part, that means the connectivity, network becomes the critical backbone of this entire infrastructure. So I will ask Manish and Priyanshu to add to that how the technology infrastructure is enabling this part.
Thanks, Ajay. So I think at Airtel, we believe in simplifying solutions for the customers. So we work day in, day out with a lot of customers, take insights as to what are the critical problem areas, where are they expanding, where are they positioning themselves in next few years, and accordingly we contemplate and innovate or redesign our solutions. So like our colleagues said that connectivity at rural places is of critical importance. So what we have done is we have come up with few service models wherein we actually integrate a lot of technologies across all domains, be it system integration technology, be it connectivity, which is our core, be it the services side or the management layers or the tools and other technologies which we bring in to give it a unified solution for the customer. So let me give you an example. Today, I think Airtel probably is the only telco in India who has the almost all possible connectivity options which are available for us in India. Fibered, RF, 4G, 5G coming up very soon, then satellite connectivity, broadband connectivity. I think we can have a mix of connectivity to enable connectivity to most of the remote locations. And it's not just solely about connectivity anymore, it's about the user experience at that locations, which I think with our solutions like Network as a Service, which offers a complete integrated managed services solution, wherein customer, instead of interacting with multiple vendors for a simple branch solution, connectivity solution, is now, instead of interacting with 5 or 6 partners or vendors, they are now only limited or connecting with one partner. And I think that enables them to focus more on their existing business. And the SLA-based connectivity options are something which can be leveraged. I think over to...
Thanks. So, you know, HP coming really from an OEM perspective, what we started realizing, especially post-COVID, the demands of empowering your workforce, that really is the blood and the muscle of the organization, is becoming a very, very demanding and challenging job, right? It brings its own fair share of challenges. Like Priya mentioned that, you know, the moment COVID lockdown was mentioned, overnight, people had to move from office to home. Office networks were not tuned to work from home. Office infrastructure was not tuned to work from home. And this is where OEMs like HP can come in with a very clear, concrete strategy around bringing in devices which are tuned not only for working on-site, which is at the office, and we realize that, you know, the workplace is now expanding. Earlier it was really within the office premises. Now it is the workplace is where people work from or where employees work from, right? And for us to enable these kind of services where not only we will be able to provide infrastructure, we will be able to provide, I would say, customized infrastructure to your organization to meet these needs, where people will be able to, employees will be able to perform their jobs, perform their duties, and not to speak about it separately, but an inherent security layer at the hardware level, below the operating system, at the operating system, and above the operating system, right? To ensure that when you as a provider are reaching out to your customers, we are really taking care of all the back-end, all the infrastructure needs, so that your IT teams are really in a position to serve business rather than taking care of individual employees. That's our job, and we kind of have lifecycle services, professional services, digital services, and managed services to really take care of all of that, right?
So over to Vivek. So we'll request Vivek to just add on that what banks are doing onto this part, so that they are really ready with the technology to face the future.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. So we have complete focus on the customer, and nowadays everybody is moving from the product-centric approach to customer-centric approach, and we have the focus that we should serve our customer because we are a custodian of their money. So we are trying to adopt all the disruptive technologies, as well as we are trying to go hands in hands with fintech company. We are not a technology company, so we are not like to do everything in-house. So if any support coming from good fintech company and our problem can be sorted out, we are trying to go hands in hands with them and take the advantage of their expertise. On the other hand, we are trying to use all AI, ML, some extent to trying to see that how blockchain in a near future can help us. So again, we are trying to do going for the DevOps, where we see that how we can composite all the different technology into one box. So our goal is quite clear, that we have to be a technology company and we have to serve customer in a better way to win their trust and with a more transparency.
Okay, thank you. So Shiju, so I'd like to have your viewpoint onto this.
Good afternoon, everyone. So I think we had been hearing a lot of points about overnight. So I'm sure most of us are technology background people out over here, and we would really appreciate, and first of all, I would like to applaud. This is not overnight. We would have done hard work since many years, and that resulted as within the overnight. So we used to do drills, we used to do BCP drills, we used to do VPNs, we used to have smaller people who used to work from home. But when we had to work overnight from home, we scaled it. So future is scalability. So that's what I want to say. When we build anything, we have to look upon from scalability perspective, because tomorrow what's going to happen, we don't know, frankly. We are not someone astrologer who can come and say, no, tomorrow something happened like this, so build today this point of technology. So what we build today has to be scalable. What we build today has to be integrated with newer sort of application which comes tomorrow. Till last couple of weeks before, we never had heard of ChatGPT. Today, ChatGPT has come. So the idea is that whatever we built in today, that should integrate it with the newer technologies. So that's the future way of technologies which you have to look upon. And definitely the technologies should look upon by easing the processes. How do we make more customer oriented? How do we bring in technology which could be adopted more easily rather than making more complexity? As we talk about bringing a lot of technology, I would also like to touch upon a point of information security piece, because that's also one of the concern point for everyone. So when we build upon, we should definitely look upon design phase also. So how do we bring information security as a piece which has to be integrated with design? So that also should be looked upon in terms of future scalability perspective. Because what we use today will be of no good of use for tomorrow. Probably we may have to move down to a newer technology. So adoption on learning and unlearning has to be also looked upon as a part of the newer journey, because that's how you quickly unlearn and learn the new things. You will be able to scale up tomorrow for the newer future generations. So that's what I want to conclude, because times are very less. We have to cover a lot of other questions, I am sure. So we will discuss in follow-up questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Siju. You have added a very valid point, that it was the effort of long years We did number of drills, number of trials, number of tests. That resulted into that we could, at the click of button, we could transform into the pandemic area without any disruptions. So that was a very valid point. Now, since you also added that we are integrating with the external ecosystem also. That means the overall FSI domain is getting expanded. There are new players who have joined the industry. They are not traditional banking or insurance company. That means the overall there is an increase in the size of the industry. That means the whole industry is generating a volume of data, variety of data at a very high rate, high speed. So with how we are able to manage this data, whether we are able to generate a business value from this data, what we as a firm are doing in that direction. So I will just check with Manish to add on to that what should be the next data architecture that will be able to support my future business requirements.
So I think, thanks Ajay, very valid question. And I would like to give a use case which we ourselves actually deployed a few years back when we were struggling with a lot of legacy architectures. And I think I'm talking about one of the largest infrastructure in the world of Airtel's own infrastructure which we consume for our business. There I think I'm talking about 2016-17 early days, where we were actually facing challenges in terms of our NOC operations. There were more than 30 plus tools which we were using, and I think a lot of legacy systems to take care with. Then we had a huge manpower to maintain and manage this kind of infrastructure. Then lakh plus tickets almost every month. The time to log a ticket or maybe raise a ticket was more than 10 or 15 minutes. So I think all this was becoming too complex as we wanted to scale up and grow our size. So we adopted AI Ops, and I think based on big data, machine learning and other things, we tried to optimize all these processes. And I think today I would say that we have reduced the NOC manpower from more than, I would say, 85% of what it was originally there. Secondly, I think our time to resolve tickets went down drastically by 94%. And third, I would say even the time to resolve was down by 95%. And the fourth was, there was a auto heal capacity wherein a lot of infra tickets actually got auto resolved. So that was almost 72% auto resolution of tickets. So what we have seen is a journey where we have used new technologies, adopted new systems, and in fact coexisted with the legacy systems for a very long time and optimized our NOC to an extent that today I think we are one of the most efficient automated NOCs possibly in the world. And apart from that, also to add, there are few things like we also introduced automatic calling, voice calling. So a lot of tickets, I think today there are one-to-one calls within the NOC or the IT teams. I think this is completely automated. And at that point in time, I remember we had more than 80,000 calls per month which were automated. So imagine the kind of mammoth human efforts were wasted just for calling one person to another person. I think this way we achieved a lot of efficiency for our own NOC. And I think possibly we might in future offer this as a service to our customers also.
Thank you.
Thanks.
So, you can add from OEM.
Yeah, so although formally being an OEM, we don't really play on the data layer at all, but more from a personal view, I think data is the core on which a business will survive. Today, data has become so important because a multitude of compliances apply to data when a business runs, right? You've got PII, and especially when we're talking about healthcare and insurance as part of the BFSI sector. There is PII that applies here, there is PHI that applies over here. And that brings into fore a lot of additional complexities over here in terms of how to manage the data. And because as an OEM, we really look at data more from a cyber resilience and a cyber security perspective. I think my take on this is the fact that we need to have a strategy in place in terms of how this data is protected. That's the first thing. The second thing, which is far more critical than that, is what is the backup or recovery plan that if there is an attack on this data, and unfortunately, if some part of this data is compromised, what are the recovery options in place? What are the recovery processes in place, right? That is a far more important and a far more critical discussion. And I think there are a lot of players in the industry today who are really specifically focusing on just this aspect of it. And we've seen a lot of the not so nice examples of ransomware attacks on some very, very prominent entities over here. I wouldn't want to name any one of them. But we've seen the wrong examples in the industry over here. Having said that, we've also, the very fact that we've not heard about a lot of organizations not being compromised also speaks volumes about the hard work that has gone behind in terms of protecting that data and ensuring that from a business perspective, the data is available for workflow, for customers to use, for the organization to use, and yet it is protected enough from a cyber resilience and a cyber security perspective.
Data project at IndusInd Bank, so you can add more to this.
So data architecture, predicting a data architecture for future is not an easy job, because these is a journey which we cover in a years, and predicting that what all going to come in the next 5 years or 6 years, that's a big challenge for us. And most of the time, if you notice that in organizations, these data guys are not involved in other business decisions where you are planning to have new applications coming into the organization. So they're most of the time, it's very tough for these data guys to build a data architecture which can be adaptable or have an elasticity to consume these kind of applications. Again, a lot of times these regulations change quite frequently. Adapting that, changing your data warehousing reporting or a data architecture according to that it could be easily available for the regulators. So best part is to involved in these kind of a discussion, understand that what's technology going to come. Like now 5G is coming, so we know that volume would be much higher what we used to have in our past. So how we can handle that volume. Now people after COVID, most of the employees are bringing their own devices. So from that also a lot of data is coming. They are having a wearables bands and capturing the data from the IoTs. So we should have that plan initially, that what all going to be coming in the next 5 years, 6 years, what are our goals, and based on that we should plan our data architecture.
See, in the future, so what we are envisaging, how the landscape is going to change. So one of the disruptor that is coming, that the face authentication by the UIDAI. And in future, maybe, I don't know, what exactly the purpose with the desktops and laptops, maybe specific purposes they would be used, but the phone will become a smart authenticator or the smart device. So and maybe then all this artificial intelligence tools, then virtual assistants, and so many things, so all your services, everything, they will take care automatically. So the face authentication that we have launched, and some of the banks have already launched, so in the self-assisted mode, you can do the banking. As on date, using the face auth, you are opening the phone. It's just a lock and unlock. But, or maybe as a user ID also, but basically it's just a mapping of your local face auth and whatever the password you are using stored in the phone. But this face auth is an encrypted mode with the UIDAI server, right? That will open lots of things. So many services like the banking services, insurance services, so everything will be available across the phone immediately. Any transfers, just face auth. And to further enhance the security in our ecosystem, as on that we are using the fingerprints, right? So those devices, because we started this fingerprint authentication, but again it's a game, So we have found that yes, there's no liveness detection, so people have started the gummy fingers also. Sometimes we have heard about the fraud cases. So we recommend the multi-factor authentication depending upon the risks. Maybe you do the fingerprint authentication, you do the iris also, you do the OTP also, now the face auth also. So a mix of authentication depending upon what type of product you are giving, one can build, innovate in the future. And now we are starting with this L1 devices. So whenever you are giving the fingerprint, it is encrypted within the device. So the private key is hard-coded in the devices. So we are going to replace all the present L0 devices where the private key in the software environment, now it is in the hardware. So again, we are reducing the chances of, replay, etc. So these are two things that we have started. And of course, the products available like the QR code. You know, right now the QR code, the moment we see the QR code, the UPI, it's just like surf and washing powder sort of thing. So washing powder is the surf and surf is washing powder. But the QR code actually, in February 2016, we have launched digitally signed QR code on the M-Aadhaar or the E-Aadhaar or whatever the letter we are sending. So that QR code is having the power. So no ID, you know, you can check, you know, just by seeing the ID or scan it, whether it's the PAN card or the passport. You have to reach to the issuing authority to verify the genuineness. But in the Aadhaar, if I want to check that you have submitted the correct Aadhaar, with my M-Aadhaar, scanner is available. I will simply scan it. And if it is tempered, then I am not able to read it. Otherwise, it will read and decode my name, address, photo, everything. And on top of that, you can build the innovation and product around that also, because that contains the hash of the mobile also that is linked with the Aadhaar. So you can scan the data, it is coming to the database, right? And then do the OTP authentication, and without touching the UIDAI server, you can build. So some of the product you can build around this QR code scanning, and no paper. And new thing that, again, what we are emphasizing, because now it's the Generation Z, who are very well versed with all the technical things. So one can download the digitally signed XML file of your Aadhaar. It's not a PDF, it's just an XML file. So you can have in your phone, and you can store, you can share whomsoever you want to share. And this immediately can be consumed by the recipient organization, and data is there. So again, further, you can do some OTP verification, etc., because hash is there. So it's just easy way to share the data across. My identity, I am sharing it. So these two products, new products, we say it's the offline authentication. So one can consume and build the product around these type of things. But what we recommend, of course, I think one of the gentlemen does the information security. So it's not only the data security, you have to ensure the privacy factor also. I think already there's a panel discussion on the privacy. That is, very important point as on date. When the 5G and lots of data is getting generated, we don't know where the data is going, and we need a control. So of course, under the Data Privacy Act, everything will be taken care. But when you design any product or whatever the architecture you are going to use, and with my experience, what I suggest, whosoever in the IT industry, when you create any platform or the architecture basically, so it should be robust. You give more time in creating the architecture. Technology may change, so there is the seamless change in the technology. It's not that you have to, every time technology is changing, you are reinventing the wheel. So fundamental should be strong, and your architecture or design should be in such a good manner you have to design that whatever the technology is coming, immediately you can embrace in the no time. So with these things, the security, privacy, and the good architecture, one can design the system, and we can deliver the services as per the customer expectation, because it is day by day it is increasing.
Yeah, just to add on this, look, when we all as a banker or any other businesses, we generate so much data. I mean, we sometimes, from the technology side, when we speak, we get requests that we need this kind of data, this kind of, X or Y kind of data. How much of this is converted into meaningful information? That's the biggest challenge, because there's a big difference between data and information. So most of people keep collecting data. And believe me, data storage, okay, while the cost would have come down, it's still not cheap. You keep storing data, you keep securing the data, then you have to access it, then you have to create a backup, then you have to create an archive. So all these are expensive. Again, while we have been talking of data which is used more from the sales and from the perspective customer behavior and all, how much of this are used for risk and compliance? Because with UPI and this kind of products available, your accounts can be wiped out in a matter of seconds. So when you have this kind of information on where the customer is operating from, what's the frequency, you collect all those data, consume it, you come out with an algorithm, and then put a transaction stop, decline, approval process into it, it's also a challenge. Because your entire UPI transaction gets over in less than a second. Within that time, you need to have the processing speed to do it. So these are challenges when it comes to data and culling out information and utilizing it. So I just wanted to bring on this point.
It's very interesting topic when it comes to data, because whenever the topic for data comes in, we keep hearing lot of buzzwords. Data is oil, data is gold. Yes, definitely it's oil because it's float. It's float across the organization. So you will see the data across everywhere in the organization. But I believe data is a soil, because you should know what you are seeding and what you are getting out of it. So what you will seed and what's the plant or trees or fruits, what is going to come out, you should know. So it's a discipline. So first of all, any organizations, I'm sure everyone is doing this. None of the organizations today in the world can live without data. But a best practice in the data management has to be there. Most of the organization misses that, because when data comes, only the data analytics or data science comes in. But there is a big data management, because you need to know what use of the data is of. Rest all data can be, I'm saying it can be put it off on archivals, or it can be moved out of the organization, because we try to keep everything which is we don't know also. Most of the time, if we go back and check out the data which we may not know, we will be storing it for years and years. And definitely for the regulated bodies, regulated entities, they'll be storing for ages, which itself is a cost, which itself is over tons of the job which any of the technology divisions will have to manage that. So first of all, the management, data management has to put up in place. We should know what we are going to get it out of it. And then whatever you want to do in terms of analytics or putting down in terms of data science or self-services, whatever the way we want to put it up, that's the best way to do it. Because today we bring in multiple data. If we try to show multiple color, we feel that we have done a fantastic job by showcasing. But is it meaningful? Something coming out of it? So most of my part of career I have spent with largest credit bureau and rating agency. So I come with a data background where I know the useful and the meaningful of the data. So definitely I think we will hear from most of our eminent panelists also. But I would say data management is one of the most, and data governance, because who should use, who should not use, how do we flow, and definitely the information security piece of the data and encryption. So that's the one thing which I would like to highlight out over here.
Right, Siju. So in fact, data governance is another topic for discussion is in itself. So now, because of shortage of time, I will go to Priya as well as to Rajesh. So see, we already have a legacy application in our landscape, and we are also trying to adopt or accept these new technologies. So that means we are trying to transform some of the existing technologies. So if you go for a code transformation of applications of the core, if you go for like Rise in your case, you are looking toward transforming your core. Being a legacy bank, old bank, you have a system which is old, which is running on old technologies. So which are the key parameters which on basis of which you will evaluate these technologies, that which will be the new technology that you will accept in your landscape, and what kind of friction you see when you integrate these technologies into the existing one. Same thing, Priya, to you also, that in case if you are looking to adopt any technology, what kind of challenges you see, and on what basis you evaluate these things.
So I think I'll use some of the components from data and the legacy system to answer this. We have got quite a lot of legacy like most of the banks, and two-pronged approach. One, we are just removing some of the old system, getting new systems, so no surprise there. Wherever there is some life left in the systems, of course, we got to sweat that so that we can realize the investment in that. And I think the APIs come very handy when you have to use the legacy to the advantage, making changes on the front end and using the existing back end. I think the entire world is doing that, more so in the West, where the back end is very heavy and they can't afford to replace that. So API ecosystem, the more and more strong API system you have, a central system where you create APIs which can be consumed by multiple resources so that you don't duplicate creation of those APIs is quite handy. We are doing that significantly for a lot of our services. Partnership is one of the core strategy of SBS 2030, the strategy of the bank. And we don't believe that customers are owned by anybody anymore. So customers will move from one bank to another bank for small differentiation, be it in terms of interest rate, be it in terms of digital experience we provide, or anything for that matter. So huge adoption of APIs from that perspective. The focus is looking at very simple things, Ajay. So case in point, all of us are banking customers. Even today, so I used to live in Europe before joining CSB Bank just a year back. Wherever I used to do banking over there with multiple banks, I hardly filled a paper. But in banks in India, even today, the large banks, you go to bank branches, you say, I want to apply for a credit card, one form. I want to apply for a personal loan, another form. I want to have a home loan, third form. That's a huge friction between the bank and a customer. I hate filling forms. I don't want to do it. And if you are already a customer with the bank, why do you have to do that again and again? And that's where your data come into picture, your analytics come into picture. The information what you already have, you just have to use that information in the other systems. And there are so many unique identifiers. My PAN card is a unique identifier. My Aadhaar number is a unique identifier. My email ID, my mobile phone, so many unique identifiers. So just pull that information using any of these unique identifier from your systems and apply it to the new product what the customer is asking for. So that's how we are looking at while we are building, simplifying, be it the data strategy, be it implementing new systems or using existing system in a better way. So how we can simplify experience for customers to do banking with us, how we can reduce friction between us and our customers. So that is at the centricity, and everything revolves around that. Thank you.
So I'll take the liberty of dwelling a bit on the previous question. Data is really the holy grail. When we talk about healthcare and health insurance, we create a huge amount of data, and as we know, users are creating content. Somebody said during COVID as well, a lot of data has flown in various mediums. Erstwhile, it was flat files and flat data. Right now, data is moving as videos and a lot of other dynamic content. Now, if we were to flip this and, if we were to really think, when we think about data, we think about personalization, we think about selling. But there are various facets of data that can be used, and specifically from my industry standpoint, we use data to create, healthy behavior in our consumers. So we reward them for healthy living, steps that they take. They, people living with condition like diabetes, hypertension, people have other complex conditions. If they take care of their health, it is in our interest as an industry, and we reward them basis that data. So, the wearable devices that we hear about, the mobile phone, creating content around sleep patterns, your water intake, and all the other what have you. All of that data to really encourage healthy behavior, because our endeavor is not only to get people to go to hospital and feel sick and pay the insurance bills. Our interest is to keep India healthy and to try and see how we can have healthy consumers and healthy citizens in the longer run. So if we were to flip the whole conversation, of course, data needs to be structured, meaningful insights have to be there, those have to be actionable, outcomes have to be there in terms of dollar or experience or persistency. So a lot of aspect around sourcing, personalizing, retaining the consumers, a lot of use cases. We don't really hound the consumers who are having a propensity to renew because they've had a good experience of claim. We would rather invest time in servicing claims well. Similarly, a lot of other aspects, but most importantly, from an insurance perspective, India is a very fragmented market in terms of the way healthcare is governed. There is no healthcare regulator. So whatever information that we take from the healthcare provider, that is really prone to fraud, waste, and abuse. And that's where data comes handy. So we have use case in ManipalCigna where we've created rule engines because we can't paint all consumers alike, and one size will not fit all. And we do not have an electronic data interface, unlike one of our colleagues mentioned about his lifestyle and in banking experience in Europe. Similar to that, insurance across developed markets, you do not have to process through paper. You do not have to use paper to buy. You do not have to file claims as physical claims or digital claims for that matter. Unfortunately, in India, digital claims means scanning or taking a photo of a claim and sending it. It's not digitization, right? So I think that's one use case where fraud, waste, abuse control has been put in place by insurance companies like us. And a lot of other aspects around customer lifetime value, how could we create personalized, smaller ticket size, individual focused personalized products for our consumers, a lot of other aspects around sourcing, selling, retaining, service experience for that matter. Not all consumers have to go through all investigations. So how do we really innovate and segment from a loyalty perspective? How can we have a HNI experience when a consumer paying much higher premium or has been a consumer to us for 10 plus years, walk into a hospital and walk out with seamless kind of experience? So those are the powers of data. Of course, data is not very structured. Talking about challenges, especially from InfoSec security perspective, as a health insurance company, we deal into PII and PHI. And hence, it's extremely important to have robust platforms, data, malware and, cyber security threats and attacks. Those are areas that we look for. Personally, if you ask me, consumer experience, no downtime, my data doesn't get leaked, and I get, seamless service year on year, and my premiums don't go up because of inefficiency and lack of, scalability in our processes as an industry is the focus area as a challenge, which will continue to be dwelled into and operated at. Thank you.
Just quick comment on this. One is the data. So there's one part that is missing, the data collection. In our country, where people literacy level, someone is assisting and vernacular language forms, you are collecting the data and we are on the mercy of somebody else who is translating. So my Somnesh, whatever they are writing, both data and the English. This is the critical thing, the last mile where the data is coming. So if garbage is coming, the garbage is out. So we have to ensure that piece if you want real intelligence out of the data. And the another part that what gentleman said that regarding the many papers. So now we are talking about the consent-based architecture. So it's all digital. So it's my data, I am the owner. So if I want loan, I will simply give the consent, please use my data on any bank account. So that is coming and all the regulators are talking with each other. So maybe very soon we will have the robust systems in place.
In case of insurance, there are some scenarios where claims are paid without raising a physical request for a claim. Example is the travel industry. It's based on the auto trigger of the event, claim can be paid. And there are companies who are doing that. And next thing is that regarding the movement of paper for banking. So technology like blockchain can definitely play a role and can contribute toward that. That is something like a consent-based. Like consent-based, someone can validate that this is a true customer. And we can proceed with the documentation. So there are examples.
KRA is there on the SEBI regulated entity. It is happening as on date. Right. So if you have a one mutual fund account, so which is using the portfolio number, you are doing it. So it's just one piece, but yeah, we are going ahead.
It's working somewhere. So only thing is that it will get expanded to other part of industry. So with this, we'll close our panel discussion.